If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm up from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in a few minutes by William Boor, who does great work over at Action Network. We're going to be taking a look at some of these games that we've got for Sunday. Additionally, we are going to be taking a look at what we've all seen here in baseball thus far this season, and you know what? We're going to be getting some of his picks on this Sunday card, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis out of every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, maybe does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is brought to you by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, they make sure that bettors are able to access their funds 24/7, 365 on leap years, 366 days out of the year. It's not running on credit or anything like that. It's an account that you're able to utilize for all of your gambling transactions and so much more. That's over at edgeboost.bet. Promo code Greg, G-R-E-G, dollar for dollar match on your first $25 deposit over there, and you earn cashback rewards when you do utilize Edge Boost. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw on this Baseball Saturday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The top over team in all of baseball is the Miami Marlins, and since the beginning of the 2024 season, they have played right around about 70% of their home games to the over, and it was another overwhelming day on Saturday for them, as for the Miami Marlins, they entered down 6-4 in the ninth inning, and all of a sudden you get a walk-off bomb as Kyle Stowers is able to go deep for a grand salami to end the game. 9-6 a final for Miami, as Stowers goes deep twice, once off of Osvaldo Bido, his 5th home run season, and then off of Mason Miller, who's one of the more dominant closers in the big leagues, for home run number 6, as Bido gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 innings. Until Mason Miller came in, the bullpen was doing their part, as Justin Cerner, Grant Holman, they both lend a scoreless inning, and then you have a combined inning scoreless out of Tyler Ferguson, TJ McFarland, and then Mason Miller gives up 5 runs in 2/3 of an inning, including that bomb, and it cancels out the fact that the Athletics, they had a trio of bombs in this one, as Max Meyer did not have it, as Brent Rooker gives lead for his 9th home run season. You had Mr. Luis Urias get his 4th home run season, and JJ Bleday, his 4th home run in the campaign. For Meyer, he gives up 5 runs in 5 innings. From there, you had Lake Bakar give up 1 run in 2 innings. The Anthonys, Anthony Veziano, Anthony Bender, they both lend a scoreless inning. Shock, surprise, the Colorado Rockies lost again. They're now 6-27 thus far this season, and it's skid mark on the underpants of baseball. 6-3 the final. The San Francisco Giants do get the job done. You had Bradley Blaylock not give the world's worst start. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 1/3 innings. He did allow a deep ball in this one to Luis Matos, his 2nd home run in the campaign, and Matt Chapman, he gets home run number 7 of the campaign, as he goes deep off of Jake Bird, who got the bird, giving up 3 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Jimmy Ergett 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and for the Gigantes, you did have Jordan Hicks give up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, but the bullpen from there holds down the fort. Eric Miller, Camilo Duval, Randy Rodriguez, Ryan Walker, all able to end scoreless innings. You had quite a few scoreless innings out there in the Padres versus Buccos game, and for the Slam Diego Padres, they slam it down on the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-1 the final, as for David Bednar, he poops the Bednar in the 9th inning. Shock, surprise, says this was very shocking. Bailey Fulcher wasn't bad in this game. He gives up a solo run over the course of 7 innings. Manny Machado, 3rd home run of the campaign, but Bednar, he allows Fernando Tatis Jr. to score on a wild pitch that turned out to be the difference, gave up a run in an inning. Chase Shogurt, a scoreless inning of his own, and for the San Diego Padres, Randy Vasquez comes up with a magical start, to say say the least. Gave up 6 hits, 5 walks, and 5 innings, and he only allowed 1 run. Not quite sure how, but he only allowed 1 run. And from there, Yuki Matsui, Jason Adam, Robert Suarez, Alec Jacob all lend a scoreless inning. Sub 170 bullpen ERA for the San Diego Padres, and they find a way to get the job done. The Cleveland Guardians, they find a way to get the job done against the Toronto Blue Jays. 5-3 the final in this one, as you had Davis Schneemann be able to get a pair of bombs. Home runs number 3 and 4 of the campaign, both coming off the bullpen, as he was able to get a grand salami off of Mr. Garcia, and he was able to get his 4th home run of the campaign off of Chad Green. For Chad Green, he gives up a home run in his inning of work, and then Yimi Garcia has been really good thus far this season. 4 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning, gave up a grand slam. Yuriel Rodriguez out of the bullpen scoreless. Kevin Gausman was great in this one. 1 hit, 1 walk allowed in 6 scoreless innings, and Mason Fluharty was able to give you a scoreless inning. Bo Bichette, Ding Dong, the witch is dead. First home run of the campaign, that comes off of Gavin Williams for Mr. Williams. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 4 innings, punched out 9, but also walked 5. Kobe Allard in long relief, really good, giving up 1 run in 4 innings, and Emmanuel Clase, he was able to find it on this day. He was able to give the team a scoreless inning. You had the Tampa Bay Rays deliver quite a few scoreless innings, as Clark Schmidt was supposed to make the start for the Yankees. He did not, but for the Tampa Bay Rays, they do it with their pitching. 3-2 the final, as for the surprise starter Ryan Yarbrough, not terrible here. He gives up 1 run over the course of 4 innings. Fernando Cruz is able to give you 2 scoreless innings. Ian Hamilton, a scoreless inning. Tim Hill, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Mark Leiter Jr., he lighters this game up, giving up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning. Meanwhile, for the Yankees, Aaron Judge, 11th home run of the season. He's got north of a 500 on base. Just wild, to say the least, as he goes deep off Zach Littell, and Littell also gives 1 up to Austin Wells, who hit the ball Wells for his 6th home run of the campaign for Littell. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 7 innings, both solo home runs. Garrett Clevenger, Edwin Uceta, they combine for a scoreless inning, and Pete Fairbanks, he's able to supply the team with a scoreless inning of his own. You saw in the Red Sox versus the Minnesota Twins game, the Twins find a way to persevere, get the job done by a count of 4-3, as this was an underwhelming end of the game, as for the Boston Red Sox, they do allow a 3 spot in the 6th inning for the Twins to be able to get it done, as Hunter Dobbins gives up 4 runs at 5 2/3 innings. The game changer was the home run that he allowed to Mr. Cody Clemens, home run number 1 of the campaign. Meanwhile, for the Twinkies, Bailey Ober gives up just 1 run in 6 innings. Brock and Roll Stewart gives up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning, but Griffin Jacks, he gets Jacks up. He gives you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Cole Sands, Yuan Duran, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. And then for the Red Sox bullpen, you did have Greg Weiser give you 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Justin Wilson, a scoreless inning, and Brandon Bernardino, he was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. You had, for the Philadelphia Phillies, a very nice win in this one, as they were able to take it to the Arizona Diamondbacks. As for the Snakes, Brandon fought his way through 4 2/3 innings, but he gave up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned, including a pair of bombs. Max Kepler, 5th home run of the campaign. JT Realmuto, he's able to get home run number 3 of the campaign. And on the flip side, for the Arizona Diamondbacks, you did have Lourdes Gurriel get his 5th home run of the campaign. That came off of Carlos Hernandez, his 5th home run of the campaign, as Aaron Nola, pretty darn super. He gives up no runs in his 6 innings, 8 punch-outs. From there, Carlos Hernandez does give up 2 runs in an inning. Tanner Bakes, Joe Ross, they're both able to supply a scoreless inning. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, the bullpen was pretty solid, with Scott McGill give you 2 scoreless innings and 1 1/3 inning scoreless out of Mr. Castillo and Jose Castillo. And then you saw this one go final with a relatively demonstrative total, with the Washington Nationals being able to take it to the Cincinnati Reds. Now, I am doing this at right around about 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time, Pacific Time. This is 6:15, so you did get an over in this game. As I am doing this right now, the Nationals are up by kind of 8-4, but I have to think that they're going to get the job done here, despite the fact that Trevor Williams did allow 4 runs over the course of 5 1/3 innings, including home run to Jake Fraley, 3rd home run of the campaign, but Nick Lodolo lit up like a Christmas tree. 6 runs earned, 7 runs in total in 5 1/3 innings. As for Washington, Ahmed Rosario was able to get home run number 2 of the campaign. From there, you had Osvar Zuleta be able to come in for 1 1/3 innings. He gives up 1 run, and right now for the Washington Nationals, you've had Andrew Chafin come in for a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Jose Ferrer, he was able to supply a scoreless inning. Barring anything harebrained, Cubs should be able to pull this one out against the Milwaukee Brewers, as this was going on the 9th inning. They were up by a count of 6-2, as for James Satayan, allows just 2 runs over the course of his 6 innings. Reese Hoskins did take him yard for his 4th home run of the campaign, but Jose Quintana was overdue for regression, and boy, did the regression monster get hungry. How about 6 runs earned, 3 bombs out of him over the course of 5 innings, as going deep, Nancy Swanson, 7th home run of the campaign. Shane. Peter Crow Armstrong is ninth, and Kyle Tucker is ninth. You've had Julian Merriweather, Brad Keller, both supply a scoreless inning for the Cubs. And since up for the Milwaukee Brewers, Abner Uribe, Nick Mears, and Grant Anderson have all been able to keep it scoreless as well. Currently doing this as the Dodgers and Braves are currently in a rain delay, so you might get an insert if that game gets washed out. And the Kansas City Royals currently up 2-0 in the fifth inning against the Baltimore Orioles. And right now, TBD as to what we got in terms of that Detroit Tigers and LA Angels game. But that said, something that is not TBD is the fact that we have had quite a few unders as far this season in Major League Baseball. Again, doing this as we do have a few games that have yet to go final. I do my hosting duties on Saturday, which is why I do have to do the recap a little bit earlier. But that said, for the under overall this season, it is sitting at a rate that is just below 52%. 242 unders to 224 overs, with favorites on the money line hitting at 61%, 297 and 190. Meanwhile, if you're looking at the last 7 days of Major League Baseball, favorites are just absolutely cleaning up. 59 and 30 on the money line, 66.3%. And the overs have been a little bit overwhelming, 45 overs to 43 unders. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we all got on Saturday. And now let's take a look at what we're going to be getting on Sunday and beyond with our good friend William Boor. He does such tremendous work over at Action Network, and he joins me next on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by this man, as you've got William Boor aboard, as he does such a tremendous job taking a look at this great game of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights as he covers a little bit of everything over there at Action Network. And then additionally, I know that you're able to find him in the Chicago Inquirer. You're able to find him in the New York Post as well. A whole bunch of different publications. And to be able to follow him on Twitter/X, that is at the letter W and the word Boor, B-O-O-R, all together. William, it's always great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Greg. Always a pleasure to hop on, talk some baseball with you. We're finally getting to the point of the season where I think some of these results and some of these numbers actually mean something. So that's always an exciting time.
And I screwed that up. I was saying the Chicago Inquirer, the Philadelphia Inquirer. I know that he's done some work over at the Chicago Tribune. So I was getting my cities mixed up. And sometimes it does feel like we get our teams mixed up with regards to this time of year, because we've got some records that just look a little bit wonky, to say the least. Just through the first 5.5 weeks of the season, there are a few teams that you take a look at and you're surprised by them, whether that be to the positive or the negative.
Well, I think we'll keep it short here. The Rockies, I'm surprised they're this bad. I knew they were, but this is atrocious. But on the more positive side, Detroit, I think everyone thought that team was going to be good, but you weren't sure how much of last season's late run was real or whether it was just a hot September. It's looking like it was very real. I mean, they're 9 games over 500, depending on how today goes and when people listen to this, but like they're looking very good. They're looking better than I thought. I thought they were going to be closer to maybe a 87-ish win team. And they're looking like they might get in the, low mid 90s, which is going to be really interesting. Seattle, I had overs on them, but they're hitting at least better. They got off to a slow start, but starting to hit a little better than they were earlier in the year. So that's good to see. And then I'm just scrolling through. And then I think with the exception of the Rockies, the NL West as a whole is going to be a dogfight all year. I think the Dodgers are still the favorite. The Dodgers deserve to be the favorite. The Dodgers will be the favorite all year. But the NL wildcard race with those other teams is going to be insane to watch.
Yep, it is going to be insane. And when it comes to the NL West, it's just absolutely insane to see all 4 of those teams and how they're firing on all cylinders. And then you've got, obviously, the Colorado Rockies. And I do think that it's interesting. I'm not sure if you brought it up or someone else, just the disparity that we're seeing in terms of the National League versus the American League as well. Because when it comes to the American League, I'm just not sold on a lot of these teams. Meanwhile, in the NL West, I almost think that any of those 4 teams, sans maybe the San Francisco Giants, might be better than darn near any of those teams in the entirety of the American League. Obviously, we've got those teams in the NL East, the Chicago Cubs, and I think that it's more stark than I can ever really remember, one league to the other.
Yeah, you've got a point. It definitely wasn't me that brought it up, but as you mentioned it, and I'm just kind of like, doing a little power rankings in my head, looking at the standings here and the top teams, and I hadn't really put it together, but when I go through who are my favorite teams, I'm like, oh yeah, they are in the NL. They're in the NL. They're in the NL. Yeah, you bring up a good point. Like I think the best record in the AL right now is the Tigers and the Mariners. The Mariners rotation is really good. Tariq Skubal's really good. I don't know if I consider the Tigers like a legitimate contender. Maybe if they stay hot, they'll prove me wrong. But yeah, that goes to your point. The fact that they have the best record in the American League right now is kind of interesting. Whereas opposed to like, I think, the Dodgers are better. I think the Mets are better. I think the Phillies will probably be better. There's a lot of power on that National League side for sure.
Yep, it certainly is. And I think that that's going to be something so fascinating to watch all season long, as our good friend William Boor does great work over at Action Network. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And certainly we do have some very interesting games that are going to be going down on Sunday. And I think that this one is going to be a big one between the Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers, because with the Cubs, it's been a really good start to the season for them. I think that there might be a little bit of regression with that offense, though. And for Shota Imanaga, even though the ERA has been very good, I do think that it's a little bit alarming that he gives up as much contact as he does going against Freddie Peralta in pretty much a pick 'em game in a total of 7.5. How do you take a look at a game like this? Because I look at that 7.5 and it just feels a little bit low with the way that the Cubs have been hitting in general this year, and with the fact that Shota Imanaga, again, feels like he's gotten away with some stuff this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. 7.5 seems low. Imanaga, I mean, ERA 2.77, expected ERA 4.94. So there's your expected regression right there. And the other thing is the way the Cubs have been hitting, yes, there probably will be regression at some point. There almost has to be. But I also wouldn't necessarily be shocked if they just hit that number themselves tomorrow. It seems like they're capable any day of just putting up a big spot. 7.5 is just pretty low in general, regardless of who's pitching. You need so much to go right, especially in an era where starting pitchers aren't going 8 innings anymore. I mean, even if Imanaga, Peralta throw 6 really good innings, then you still got to cross your fingers, because if it's 3-2 after 6 or 3-1 after 6, there's still a lot that can happen there. 7.5 is still low total in general.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I do think that that's a number that I'm certainly going to be taking a look at for Sunday, and I do think that this is going to be interesting as well. Lance McCullers Jr. is a north of -$2 favorite, even though last time he pitched was in the 2022 season. Like, this guy just had injury after injury, 2 straight seasons missed. What do you expect out of Lance McCullers Jr. in this start? Because I think that if the Astros lose to the Chicago White Sox, it wouldn't be like the world's biggest stunner, but it would be a little bit stunning. But I think bigger than that for the Houston Astros is just being able to get McCullers back out there on the field after it had been oh so long since he's last pitched.
Well, I think if you're going to ease back into the season, there's a couple offenses that would be on your list, and this is one of them. I think it's just a matter of getting him into form. Like you said, losing one game to the White Sox isn't the end of the world. I know they did lose Friday as well, but it's more of like, hey, can you just get in this start and throw, 3 to 5 innings and come out of it healthy? And it's really not about the results. It's always about the results, obviously, but I just kind of want to see how he feels Sunday. I want to see how he feels Monday morning, and just, are you able to get him every 5 days again? Because if you can get him back to what he was, I mean, this is a play for, July, August, September Astros. They're not necessarily caring about May 4th when it comes to McCullers.
Yep, and have you noticed this as well with the Houston Astros? This is always a team that it just feels like, to me, they always hit their stride more towards the summer months, and it does feel like it's a little bit up and down for them in these months as well. So I think that makes it all the less alarming if they do lose that game on Sunday.
Yeah, they're hovering right now, and that's fine. I think they have enough veterans on that team. They just seem to play well in the summer, like you said. Maybe it's being a Houston team, and once the weather heats up, they heat up with it. Teams traveling to Texas, or maybe, dehydrated or too hot or something like that. But they seem to pick up later in the season. You're right. So I think as long as they don't do anything dumb and, lose 15 games in a row and fall out of it, I think as long as they hover right now, as we're speaking, they're 2.5 games back. I think as long as you kind of stay there, you wait for things to settle, everyone to get into a rhythm, and you make your move in the summer.
Yep, absolutely. And a guy that we always want to make a move on to get on the show is William Boor, as he does such great work over at Action Network, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And I do think that's really interesting to gauge how the Cincinnati Reds have been playing as well. How do you take a look at this team? One that's going to be about a minus 120, minus 125 favorite against the Washington Nationals and Mackenzie Gore, because for the Reds, it just doesn't feel like, other than the likes of an Ellie De La Cruz, that they necessarily have a lot of firepower. But I mean, at the same time, they've been able to do a rock solid job in terms of just finding a way to get it done with their bullpen. They've got a lot of guys that have stepped up in the lineup. Obviously, Hunter Green has been great in that rotation as well. But for the Cincinnati Reds, I just feel like the team picking up Terry Francona in the offseason was exactly what they needed. And the Reds, it just feels like they're learning how to win right now, for lack of a better term.
This is such a Terry Francona team. You got the star power of De La Cruz. We'll say go back to the Guardians, we'll say the star power of Jose Ramirez. And then, not that they're all that similar as players, but I just mean you got that one big name. And then obviously you've got Hunter Green. But then after that, you're right. It's kind of like, how are they doing this? Who's the player that I'm going to buy a ticket and be like, I want to see him? It's no one. It's kind of a group effort. I know we've talked in years past about the Guardians being a 162 team, not an October team. And it kind of feels like the Reds are the same way. Part of that is because the NL is, loaded. Like, I'm not going to pick them in a series over the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Mets, the Padres, whatever. But on a day-to-day basis, this team is winning games. This team's playing well. I think Mackenzie Gore has been throwing a little better than probably his numbers indicate. But just on a day-to-day basis, if we're talking the next, 7 to 10 days or whatever, the Reds have been playing really well, and it's really impressive so far. Long way to go. Got to keep it up. But this is a really good start, and there's definitely Francona's imprint on the team for sure.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And I agree with you with Mackenzie Gore. The guy's been getting 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. I feel like he's gotten a little bit of the short end of the stick thus far this season. So I do think that one is going to be a fun one. And what else I think is going to be interesting is looking at this one, because I know you, prior to going on over to Action Network, used to work over at MLB Pipeline, and it's going to be the debut of Blade Tidwell, which that's a very interesting name to say the least, going out there for the New York Mets. And right now his Mets are about a minus 125 to a minus 135 favorite against St. Louis. How do you take a look at this first start for Tidwell? Because it seems like everything that the New York Mets have done with their pitching staff, which I had a lot of question marks with going into the season, has turned to gold. But I don't know if a guy in Mr. Tidwell has been posting up a career ERA in the minors of a north of 4.2. He's got really good strikeout stuff, but he gives out a lot of walks. If that's necessarily going to play here, start number 1 against the Cardinals, and typically I'm a guy that I like to fade a lot of guys in their MLB debut.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, 26 hits in 27 innings in the minors this year, ERA of 5. Yes, it's only 6 starts.
And not the PCL either.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have good numbers. And like you said, you have the nerves of a major league debut. Look, sometimes I know Paul Skeens, although he's a freak, it doesn't count. He came up and he dominated his major league debut. Yes, it happens. But usually when that happens, the person had been throwing well in the minors, and you just hope they can calm the nerves and continue the trend. They're asking Tidwell tomorrow to not only calm the nerves, but then perform better than he has. That doesn't make any sense. I get why they're calling him up. There's a doubleheader and you got to move stuff around. So that's fine. I don't like backing pitchers in their major league debut because so much stuff can go wrong. I also just don't like betting doubleheaders in general. But to me, if you like the Mets tomorrow, you're almost better not laying the juice and betting the over, because I think if the Mets win this game, it means that they probably outscored the Cardinals more than Tidwell throws 5 innings of 1-run ball.
Yeah, I'm not going to be betting on Mr. Tidwell myself, and for Eric Fedde is coming off of giving up 7 runs in his last start, which very interesting. Last 5 starts, he has given up 6, 0, 1, 2, and 7 runs. So he's been getting very much an all or nothing performance there. But with that said, Mr. William, I know that you always give us a little bit of everything. So is there anything else on the card for Sunday that you're taking a look at, whether it's going to be something that you're betting or just something that you want to watch out for in general?
Yeah, probably going to play the A's. They're playing really well. I think it's won 7 of the last 10, 7 of the last 11, something like that. They got JP Sears on the mound. Not great, but we're getting a good price and definitely a solid pitcher. I don't necessarily expect him to blow up. I'm not going to expect him to do 6 innings, 1 run or anything like that. But if he can give up 2 or 3, I think the A's have been hitting the ball well enough that they can fill in the gaps. And then the D-backs Phillies over, I think I'm probably going to be on. I'm going to see where that number winds up in the morning. But, Ranger Suarez, Eduardo Rodriguez, I don't have to explain that. And then obviously both those offenses can do a ton. And the other thing is, if that over doesn't hit, I do want to see what Arizona gets from Eduardo Rodriguez tomorrow, especially with the news Corbin Burns is going to miss a start. And I just want to see what they're going to get out of their pitching, because they can't give away games in this NL West being the bloodbath that it is all year.
Oh, absolutely. This is an NL West that's locked, loaded, ready for bear. It is going to be a fun one to watch all season long, and I know that you, William, are going to do a great job of being able to gauge it all. You do such amazing work being able to break down this tremendous game of baseball, so let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at WBoor, WBOOR, and follow me in the Action Network app at William Boor _, all one word. actionnetwork.com for all of my content and all of my colleagues' content. We got everything you need to bet on everything. We got baseball. We had Kentucky Derby stuff today, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs as well. We've got, games, props, totals. We hit a 22-1 home run parlay yesterday. So there's a little bit of everything for you.
Absolutely love it. Those 22-1 home run parlays, that is good, clean family fun right there. And so is William in general. He does such a great job breaking down this great game of baseball. So big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, today's That Kind of Podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be able to get William Boor aboard. He does such a great job over at Action Network. Take a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights and did so once again today. So big thanks to him for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at June_D1, and we're going to be going into Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. The Interleague game is going to be at the bottom, and just heads up that when it comes to that Mets versus Cardinals doubleheader, since the game that was postponed is now becoming a doubleheader, the game that is listed at the bottom of the betting board, those two games, those will all be done together. So we start things off with 901, 902 on the betting board. The Slam Diego Padres at third face-off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Andrew Heaney is going to be getting the start for the Buccos, and Stephen Kolek is going to be getting the start for the Padres. Stephen Kolek was a little bit of a surprise start here, so pretty much every place has this game off the board. I'm right now seeing one additional opener over at FanDuel, -108 on both sides on the money line, with a total of 8.5. Over is even money, and the under is -122, and I would be willing to side with the San Diego Padres in this ordeal. I did set them at a -117, and for Stephen Kolek, he was with the big league team last year, but he was utilized as a relief pitcher. 5.21 ERA, but the fielding in final was 3.57. He was quite unlucky. 7 strikeouts at 2.3 walks per 9 innings. Really didn't give up a lot of homers. It was a small sample size of less than 50 innings, and sometimes things go a little bit haywire there. And if you take a look at what he did at the AAA level this season, he's posting up a 6.38 ERA. That is in the PCL, though. That is a juice ball league. He was only giving up about 1.5 walks per 9 innings, so I do think that there's some upside there. And then when it comes to Andrew Heaney, a guy that really was able to turn over a little bit of a new leaf towards the beginning part of the season, but I do think that this is going to go downward a little bit. I don't think that it's going to be quite as bad as the last start against the Cubs. Gives up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings because the other lineups just simply aren't the Chicago Cubs. And additionally for the San Diego Padres, for one, this is a little bit of a body clock game. And two, the Padres team has quite a bit banged up. Jackson Merrill being on the injured list, and it certainly does not help out this team. Xander Bogaerts just has not lived up to his billing since they acquired him. He's been able to give you about a 330 or so on base. Fernando Tatis Jr., though, 8+ homers worth of 400 base. He's been solid, and the understudies like Oscar Gonzalez, Jose Iglesias, they're hitting about a 260. Just not a lot of power in this lineup right now. Even Manny Machado, though he's hitting a 275, he's only hit up for about 2 home runs this season, and for the Buccos. It certainly has been a little bit of a rough go of it for some of these guys at the bottom of the fold. I just am not a fan for the likes of Jared Trollo, Alexander Canario. These guys sitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Emmanuel Valdez has had a rough go of it. Now, Oneil Cruz, 8+ homers, north of a 370 on base. He's been rock solid. Andrew McCutchen, though, very much up there in years. He's been able to give you some good production as well, but this is also a Pirates bullpen that, man, it's hard to be able to trust in them. But David Benner had that really rough start to the season. He's pitched a little bit better, but man, not great there. I actually like the pickup of Joey Wentz, but he's been up and down this season. Kyle Nicholas has been a complete gas can for the team. North of a 10 ERA, Brian Barucki is someone that you can't have faith in whatsoever. And for the San Diego Padres, with having a guy like Kolek out there, you feel much better that they currently lead the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got so many guys like Adrian Morejon, Yuki Matsui, who give you a sub-3 ERA. They're able to give you multiple innings. Jeremiah Estrada has been rock solid. Jason Adam, sub-2 ERA since the beginning of the 2024 campaign. Robert Suarez, all these guys have been very, very dominant, and I do think that for Heaney, he turns a relatively solid start. Like, I'm right now seeing that total at 8.5. I'm going to be looking at the under. I saw my total at an 8.1, but I do think that the Padres bullpen pushes them over the top. Set them at a -117, so I'd be willing to lay up to a -116 on that Pods money line. 903, 904 on the betting board. The Arizona Diamondbacks hit the road to facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Ranger Suarez is on the bump for the Phils. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the D-backs. D-backs who find themselves as a bit of an underdog here. You're going to be catching them between +110 to a +116. Anywhere between -126 to a -130. That's your number on the Phils. 9 is the total. Under is -115, and the over is -105. This open up at a 9.5. I like the 9.5 a little bit more to the under than the 9, but still willing to dive in on the under. It's a guy in Eduardo Rodriguez who I believe is doing for some positivity. North of a 6 ERA, but a 4.04 fielding. Depending, he is getting 9.6 or so strikeouts per 9 innings as well. Now he's starting to allow the deep ball, giving up about 1.4 homers per 9 innings, so that's a little bit less than savory there. And then for Ranger Suarez, he's making his first start of the season after last year. He posted up a 3.46 ERA. He was getting north of 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up just 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. Trepidation is post All-Star break. He really wasn't good, posting up that 5.65 ERA, but I do think that he's going to round into a little bit of better form. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, it has been an adventure with his bullpen, to say the least, but I do feel like things are starting to improve there. We've got two really good relief pitchers in Matt Strahm, Jose Alvarado. They're very reliable in the past. That it's been a roll of the dice, to say the least. Joe Ross has been awful, but Orion Kirkering, he's posting up north of 5 ERA. Jordan Romano has just been really bad for this team, and then Tanner Banks, you just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him night in, night out. Now with the Philadelphia Phillies lineup, this is one of the more fearsome groups that you're going to find in all baseball, as you've got a lot of guys that are just able to find a way on base. Castellanos, Bryson Stott, both hitting above a 265. You've got Bryce Harper, who's had a little bit of a hot and cold season, but still giving you a 360 on base, 5+ homers. And then Kyle Schwarber, he's up north of 8 home runs this season, but other than Schwarber, not a lot of power on this team. This Phillies team is averaging about 0.85 home runs per game. You've had Brandon Marsh be absolutely awful at the bottom of the fold, and for the years in the Diamondbacks, since the beginning of the 2024 campaign, they lead all of baseball in terms of run scoring. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte is back after he missed a little bit of time due to injury. Geraldo Perdomo is giving you north of 375 on base. Same with Josh Naylor. Even though Eugenio Suarez doesn't have for a lot of average, he had that 4 home run game last week. He's been able to give you 10+ bombs this season. Gabriel Moreno is able to move the line. Pavin Smith has been rock solid, and for the Diamondbacks, they're dealing with some bullpen issues with having AJ Buck now on the 60-day injury list. That's less than tremendous. Kind of Graveman is still out, and Justin Martinez going out is a little bit of an underrated loss as well. Ryan Thompson over the last few seasons has been solid. Jalen Beek, Shelby Miller, a pair of guys with a sub-250 ERA. I like the way that they're holding down the fort, and I do think that for the Arizona Diamondbacks, if you can get a +124 or more, right now we are seeing this number more around about a +116, but this is right now on more the 20-cent lines. If we could get the timeline at +125 or better, we'll be looking there on the money line. So I should think you get down to a -123 or less on the Phillies. So we'll wait and see what happens there, but I do think that when it's all said and done, probably will catch a little bit of value on the stakes, and I'm in on this total under. I did set my total at an 8.7, 9-5, 9-6 on the betting board. The Chicago Cubs at the road, they're facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta is on the bump for the Crew. Shota Imanaga is on the bump for the Cubs, and the Cubs who find themselves in a pick'em game. Both of these teams are between -103 to a -110. 7.5 is the total. Over and under, both at -110. And for Freddie Peralta and the Brewers, I set them at a -116. I'm only trusting them on the money line. For Shota Imanaga, he has been very rock solid thus far this season, but the lack of swing and miss does make me believe that he might have a little bit of a tough time moving forward, and that there's a bit of regression coming in his future. As for Mr. Shota Imanaga, a 2.77 ERA, but a .485 fielding independent. He's been getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's giving up about 3 walks per 9 innings as well, so a little bit less than savory on that front. He's been giving up a little bit more hard contact than what you'd like as well. He has been giving up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. And for Freddie Peralta, this guy has been a strikeout machine throughout his career. As for Peralta right now, 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings is actually a career low from his career. Average is 11.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is giving up only about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. That's big. That's why he's been a little bit of an issue for him. 2.52 ERA, but a 3.77 fielding independent. But he's done a really good job holding it down the fort recently, as he has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts, 3 runs or fewer in all 5 of them. Now, this is a Chicago Cubs team that's currently leading the big leagues in terms of runs per game. I think that they fall back to earth a little bit. Now, I love what Kyle Tucker has been able to bring to the table. This man has done a rock-solid job with 8 home runs, nearly a 4 on base, a Suzuki, 9 bombs. He does a good job moving the line. And Carson Kelly, 7 home runs in the first 55 at-bats of the season and hitting for north of 4 on base. That's going to see a bit of regression, but Nico Horner is moving the line. Pico Armstrong, Dansby Swanson at the bottom of the fold are giving you some good production. And for the Brewers, you do have a pair of guys in Bryce Terang, Sal Friedlich, both hitting above a 300 entering into yesterday. For the Brewers, it's not necessarily the power ball, as you've got Jackson Trio who's been able to give you 6 home runs this season, Christian Yelich with 5, and pretty much nobody else north of 3, but even though Reese Hoskins isn't hitting the homers, he's been doing a good job moving the line. Now, the likes of Vinny Ortiz, Vinny Capra, Durbin, these guys in the infield, they've been a little bit of an issue for the Brewers. And for the Brewers, this has been a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I do think that that is going to be going, I should say, progressively northward, though, because you've got the main guys from these seasons ago, Yo Payam, Elvis Piñero, Jared Koenig, Trevor McGill, and they were leading the National League in terms of bullpen ERA a season ago. And Abner Uribe has been very rock solid. He's been able to give you a sub-250 ERA with being able to give you multiple innings. Meanwhile, for the Chicago Cubs, this has been a, shall we say, bad bullpen thus far this season. As Ryan Presley has come in as a closer, he's been relatively okay. Julian Mario, after a few really rough seasons, he's actually looked solid thus far this season, but Porter Hodge, after a really good year last year, has been awful. Right now, Eli Morgan, Ryan Brazier are both on the injured list. Caleb Theobar is needing to see some innings. That's not necessarily a place where you want to be, so I do think that for the Chicago Cubs, they're going to have their issues there. I think that both of these starters are doing for a little bit of regression, so I did sell my total at 7.8. You're at a 7.5. I like the over end. For the Brewers, I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 116 on that money line. 9 of 7, 908 on the betting board. The New York Mets are going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals for a pair, as in the first game, it's going to be Blake Tidwell on the bump for the Mets, and Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for St. Louis, and then that game number 2 game is going to be 9:31, 9:32 on the card. This was added after the rainout on Saturday. Tyler McGill, he goes for the Metropolitans, and Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for St. Louis. We'll do the Tidwell game first, as I just love saying the name Tidwell, and right now for the Mets, they're between a minus 125 to a minus 135 favorite. Plus 115 is your number on St. Louis, with 9 being the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And for Mr. Tidwell, I did set him as a underdog in this spot of a plus 104. I am in on the St. Louis Cardinals on the money line. I just can't trust in Blake Tidwell. Like, this guy was a second-round pick. He pitched out there in the SEC, and he clearly has good zip on his fastball. He clearly is a nice, hot, up-and-coming prospect, but, I mean, he's got a 5 ERA at the AAA level this year, and it's not the PCL. This is the Independence League, so that's not great. The command throughout his minor league career has been 4.7 walks per 9 innings. The strikeout numbers, again, rock solid, 12.3 strikeouts per 9 innings this season, but man, do I have my question marks here. And for old Eric Fetty Wap, this guy, ever since returning to the big league level after spending the 2023 campaign out there in South Korea, he's had a ERA that has been north of a point better when he has been at home rather than when he has been on the road. This season, he does have a 4.68 ERA, fielding independent, very much in line with that, but he's reducing on the deep ball. He's giving up less than a home run per 9 innings, and he has given up 2 runs for fear in 3 out of his last 4 starts. For Mr. Fetty Wap, he is backed up by a lineup that hasn't necessarily been slugging out a whole bunch of homers or anything like that, but you do have a few guys that are doing a solid job of just finding a way on base, moving the line in general, as I like what Brendan Donovan has been able to do entering into yesterday, hitting darn near a 350 for this unit. Additionally, you've had Nolan Arenado not necessarily supply the home run power that you've seen in past years, but he's done a solid job being able to find a way to be able to get on base, so giving you right around about 350 on base. Lars Nootbaar, great name, 5 home runs, right around about 385 on base after a brutal start to the season. Wilson Contreras starting to pick it up, and Victor Scott, as a young guy, has made a move line as well. Now for the Cardinals, this has been a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. the Mets are a top 7 team with regards to bullpen ERAs. For the Mets, you do have those long guys like Oscar Berzoba and Jose Brito, Max Chronic, who are able to give you nice innings. So my trepidations with Reed Garrett, but all in all, they've been able to do a rock solid job. And when it comes to the St. Louis Cardinals, Ryan Helsley is one of the more fearsome closers in the big leagues. Has been a little bit up and down this season. Kyle Leahy's been good. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, but you do have some gas cans out there in this bullpen. Jojo Romero, north of a 6 ERA. Roderi Munoz just should not be seeing MLB innings in general. Riley O'Brien, he's been not great. He and Ryan Fernandez, north of 10 ERA. That is very much less than savory, though. Phil Matone has been able to do a relatively solid job there, but that said, I do think that Tidwell, he's going to give up some runs. Fetty is going to as well, but I just don't trust in the rookie in his MLB debut. I did set the Cardinals at a minus 104, so looking at them on the money line and made my total 9.1, so I do like this total over as well. And then in game number 2, 931, 932, McGill and the Mets do find themselves as a minus 145 favorite, anywhere between plus 122 to plus 131. That number on St. Louis, 8.5 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. And with the Metropolitans, I did set them on the money line here at a minus 137, so we're going to be looking to see what we're going to be able to get with regards to a run line moving forward, as well as right now the run lines are just off the board because we do find themselves in a little bit of a tricky situation. So this is going to be a little bit of wait and see mode, minus 136 or better. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Metropolitans, and then a plus 138 or higher. I'm going to be taking a look at the St. Louis Cardinals, and this is a circumstance where I'm going to be willing to take a shot on this total over, as I did set my total at an 8.6, and I do think that for old Mr. Andre 3000 Palante, it is going to be a little bit of a roll the dice and a horse apiece situation with him, just because he doesn't necessarily do a lot of things great. He keeps the ball in the yard for his career, right around about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, but this is by no means a power pitcher, and this is by no means a command pitcher, as he's got a 4.13 ERA. Fielding opponent is a 5.32, 5.5 strikeouts, a 3.3 walks per 9 innings as far this season. Has been better at home rather than on the road, but 3+ runs allowed in each out of his last 3 starts. And for Tyler McGill, this has been a man that has struggled throughout his career when he has been away from Citi Field. As for Tyler McGill, you take a look at things since he came into the big league level in the 2021 campaign, a 3.53 home ERA, 5.32 ERA on the road, and this has been a man that on the road has given up about 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. At home, this is closer to about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, so I did set the price I did, minus 136 or better. Looking at the Metropolitans, plus 138 or higher, the Cardinals, and then 8.5 or less, I'm in on the over 9 or higher. The under, 909, 910 on the betting board. The Colorado Rockies hit the road. They're facing off against the San Francisco Giants. Logan Webb is on the bump for the Giants, and Ramon Marquez is on the bump for Colorado. 7.5 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110, with the Giants are between minus 325 to minus 335 favorites, and between plus 260 and plus 282 is that number on the Colorado Rockies. Right now, a lot of places do not have run line prices up. The one place that is right now having a run line price up, that would be old, reliable FanDuel, and right now they're pricing this run line at a minus 152 for the Giants, and man, it's really hard to take a look at things and feel like you're getting good value there. Like, this is one of the rare times where I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Rockies. If I could get more like a plus 130 on getting a run half, that's where I'm going to be looking, as I need at least plus 128, and FanDuel, they're listing this at a plus 126, but they don't necessarily do the greatest job with regards to that straddle, so I think that I should be able to get a plus 130 when it comes to that regard. I don't want to risk it on the money line. Now, I do see a little bit of value. I'd be willing to take a plus 263 or more, but man, with the Colorado Rockies winning back-to-back games earlier in the week, I just don't want to be rolling those dice, so I'm going to be looking a little bit more at getting a run half. And for the Rockies, you've actually had a few okay pieces out there in the bullpen. Zachary Ognos, in his first 6 appearances, has yet to give up a run. Jeremy Erga, Jake Bird, sub 225 ERA. Now, they do have Victor Vodnik currently on the injured list, but that's a little bit encouraging for this team and for the Colorado Rockies. What is not necessarily encouraging is the fact that this offense has been not great, to say the least, entering into yesterday in games played away from home. They're averaging about 2.2 runs per game and hitting as a collective .185, 11 total homers in their first 17 road games, with our good friend Hunter Goodman hitting 4 of them. So that's been less than tremendous, as Goodman, Nick Martini, Kyle Farmer only between about a 263 to a 279 when away from home. And these are the lone 3 guys that have north of 30 at-bats away from home going into yesterday, hitting above a 231. Yeah, this is not great, with Ryan McMahon hitting like a $115. My goodness gracious. These guys, they do need to be giving you a little bit of something. And then on the flip side, you do have a team in the San Francisco Giants that has really been able to excel on the offensive side of things. For the Giants, you do have a lot of guys that just find a way to be able to move the line. They find a way to be able to get on base, like a Jungle Lee who's hitting above a 300. You've had Matt Chapman not necessarily give you a lot in terms of average, but he has been able to slide north of a 350 on base. Wilmer Flores is up to 7 home runs this season along with Chapman, so these guys have supplied the boom there. Willie Adames has got to get it going a little bit more. Entered into yesterday in just a 215. Luis Matos is hitting below the Mendoza line 200. And Lamont Wade Jr. has been an abject disaster for the team thus far this season. But for the San Francisco Giants, this is a relatively solid bullpen as well. So you've got a lot of guys who are able to come in, give you multiple innings like a Randy Rodriguez, Avante Birdsong entered into yesterday with a sub 150 ERA. Camilo Duvall is starting to look like the Camilo Duvall of a few years ago. After last year, he just went straight down the toilet bowl. And Spencer Bivens is able to give you some good length as well. Logan Webb throughout his career has always been much better when he has been at home rather than when he has been away from home. For Logan Webb throughout his career, and this is a very, very large sample size, he's got an ERA at home that is hovering right around about a 260 with less than a half home run allowed per 9 innings. That goes up to about a 4 ERA when he is away from home. This far this season, he's been rock solid all over the place with a 175 fielding dependent, nearly 11 strikeouts to 2.4 walks per 9 innings. And for Ermar Marquez, it has been a little bit of a struggle for him, but he has been coming off of pretty much missing the entirety of last season. I do think that he's going to start to round into a little bit of better form, as right now that 982 ERA, not great to say the least. 454 fielding dependent. He has been only giving up a few home runs this year, 2 bombs at 25 and 2/3 innings, but the 4.2 walks per 9 innings, very much less than tremendous. His swing and miss stuff has completely cratered on him, but I do think that this is going to be a little bit better start for him. I am going to be willing to take a shot here on this total to the under, as I did set my total at a 7.1, but here in this circumstance, I'm actually looking to get a run half at a plus 128 or higher with the Colorado Rockies, something that I very rarely do. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board, the Washington Nationals, if they're facing off against the Cincinnati Reds. And yes, Bill Belichick, we're on to Cincinnati, and they're on to Nick Martinez, getting the start for them, and Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored by the Washington Nationals, and 8.5 is the total, under is minus 115, the over is minus 105, with the Cincinnati Reds, they're between minus 120 to minus 125 favorites, and between even money to plus 113 is that number on Washington. And when it comes to this spot, I did set the Washington Nationals at a plus 111. Right now, I'm seeing that plus 113 out there. That does have me siding with them for Mackenzie Gore. If you take a look at just the raw record and what have you, this guy has been one of the best pitchers in all baseball thus far this season. 2-3 record, but a 351 ERA. That fielding independent is a 250. 13 strikeouts to 2 walks per 9 innings. Guy has been absolutely masterful with that regard. Did have a little bit of a rough go of it on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies, and has given up 2+ runs on the road in his first 3 road appearances thus far this season. But that said, this guy is just racking up K after K, at least 7 punch-outs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, so that is something that you do like to see. And when it comes to Nick Martinez, this guy was just absolutely tremendous with regards to his command last year. Last season, he was giving up less than 1.5 walks per 9 innings. This season, it's been a little bit less than tremendous for him, as he has been giving up closer to about 3 walks per 9 innings. He's only getting about 7 strikeouts per 9, but he's been a little bit better than that 468 ERA would indicate. 407 is the fielding independent, and when it comes to Nick Martinez, it was a little bit of a rough start to the season, but has now really rounded into form, giving up combined 3 runs over his last 2 starts again in 11 and 2/3 innings. And for Nick Martinez, I think that he's going to be able to have some success against the Washington Nationals team that they just leave a bit of something to be desired at the plate. James Wood has been very good, 8+ home runs. He's been able to give you some good wood with right around about a 350 on base. You've had really good production as well out of Alex Cole when he's been in the lineup with north of a 400 on base, but you've got the likes of a Riley Adams, Dylan Cruz, Jacob Young, all these guys in 225 or lower, not necessarily supplying the deep ball. Nathaniel Lowe, not necessarily hitting for the world's greatest average, but he's been able to give this team 5+ home runs. CJ Abrams, he's moving line, he's hitting about a 275, and then for the Cincinnati Reds, you've had great production out of Gavin Lux thus far this season, hitting well above 300. Ellie De La Cruz, he does have the propensity to strike out, but a 350+ on base, 5+ home runs. Thus far this season, though, Matt McClain is hitting just $156. He has been able to supply 4+ home runs as well. You've had Santiago Espanol hitting above a 300 as well. And for the Cincinnati Reds, you just have to have a lot more faith in them than the Washington Nationals. The Nationals, as a collective, a north of 6.9 ERA entering into Saturday. And if you take a look at the bullpen pieces that the Washington Nationals have, oy vey, not good to say the least. You've got 2 guys in the bullpen right now with a sub 5.60 ERA. Kyle Finnegan and Jackson Rutledge. And then you get into the gas can guys. Orde Lopez, Eduardo Salazar, Cole Henry. My gosh. None of these guys are giving you good innings right now. And then for the Cincinnati Reds, I'm not calling these guys the Mona Lisa Vitos of relief pitching or anything like that, but these guys have all been able to do a relatively solid job of getting the job done, as is you've been able to get a sub-4 ERA out of pretty much all these guys. You've had good innings out of the likes of an Emilio Pagan, who I think that he's going to see some regression. He gives up the deep ball too much, but I mean, the likes of Brent Suter, Tony Santillan, Taylor Rogers, these guys are giving you good innings. Graham Ashcraft used to be a starter. They used him a few days ago for quite a few innings, but he's been rock solid. Scott Barlow has been as well, so that's a big key in this one. But I do think that Mackenzie Gore, Buster gives you a good start. I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. Did some bites at 8.4. I like the under end with the Nationals at a plus 112 or higher. I like them on the money line. 913, 914 on the betting board. The LA Dodgers hit the road to face off against the Atlanta Braves as Dustin May hope that it's May Day as he goes for the Bravos, and Bryce Elder hopes to not pitch like he's elderly for the Atlanta Braves. And total on this game, it is 9. The over is between minus 120 to minus 125. Under is between even and plus 105, minus 137 to a minus 145, that number on Los Angeles, and between plus 120 to a plus 127 is that number on Atlanta. And with the Bravos, I needed at least a plus 148 to be able to take a shot here. If you're looking to lay a run off with the Dodgers, by the way, most places do have this off the board, and again, FanDuel, they don't necessarily have the world's greatest run line prices, but right now they're listing the Dodgers at a plus 105. I would need to be getting a little bit closer, a plus 112 here. I would rather lay a little bit of a chalkier money line because Dustin May is someone who, when he's been out there and he's been healthy, he's been able to do a relatively solid job throughout his career. But that said, this is someone that is very inconsistent with regards to his strike throwing, and he just doesn't have as much movement on that 100 plus mile per hour fastball, which has caused him to not get a lot of swings and misses. 7.2 strikeouts, 4 walks per 9 innings this season. Now, to his credit, he's only given up 1 home run this season in 27 and a third innings, 3.95 ERA, but a 3.24 fielding independent. He did have that 7th spot that he gave up against the Chicago Cubs earlier in the season, but past that, he's been able to do a pretty solid job. And for Bryce Elder, I just have absolutely no faith in this guy whatsoever. Somehow, someway, this guy was able to weasel his way into an All-Star game 2 seasons ago, and he's given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 games, a 5.33 ERA, a 5.87 fielding independent with 5.3 strikeouts at 3.3 walks per 9 innings. It is very much less than grand for him, and for Mr. Bryce Elder, he is backed up by a bullpen that's been right around about league average. A let go of A.J. Minter in the offseason. Asbel Hernandez has been relatively solid. Rossio Iglesias, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's one of the best closers that you're going to find in all of baseball, but that said, you do have quite a few guys that they're not necessarily living up to their billing, as Aaron Bummer is occasionally very much a bummer. For the team, Manuel de los Santos has been able to give you north of a 4.5 ERA. Rafael Montero, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. And for the Atlanta Braves, they've been able to average a little bit north of 5 runs per game at home, but it just still feels like there's a little bit of something missing there. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. is currently missing, but Sean Murphy, 7 bombs at about 64 at-bats thus far this season, but not aiming for a lot of average. And you've got a lot of guys on this roster. They're hitting in that vector about a 225 to a 235. Michael Harris is one of them. Sean Murphy is certainly one as well. And you've had Matt Olson at more like a 235 or so. He's been able to give you 5 home runs, but just not the guy that we saw a few seasons ago. Austin Riley's up to 6 bombs with a 320 on base. And for the LA Dodgers, it's been a little bit more muted in terms of this offense as well. I was expecting just a skoge more coming into the season. That said, I still do think that these guys are going to be able to absolutely mask with Teoscar Hernandez being able to supply the team with 9 home runs thus far this season. He's been giving you a 300 average, not necessarily too much in terms of on base, but Tommy Edman, 8 bombs. He's been able to find his footing at the plate. Andy Paez, after a rough start to the season, north of a 350 on base with 6 home runs. Shohei Ohtani, 7 home runs and a 380 on base, which for his standards is actually bad right now, which is insane. Michael Conforto, Max Muncy, you need to get a little bit more out of these guys. And for the Dodgers, it's a little bit hit or miss with having so many guys like Blake Tryon, Bruce Arter, Grider and company currently on the injured list, but still getting some good innings out of some of these unexpected long guys. Ben Kasparis has been able to give you sub 3 ERA. Tanner Scott has been a nice pickup. You've been able to have Evan Phillips come off the injured list, look relatively rock solid. Kirby Yates, Alex Vesia, you know what you're getting out of these guys. So in this circumstance, I'm going to be willing to trust in the Dodgers on the money line. So by total 148, and I'm in on the over. I did so by total and a 9.2. 9:15, 9:16 on the betting board. The Tampa Bay Rays are on the road against the New York Yankees. Will Warren is on the bump for the Yanks. Taj Joncom Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Rays. 9 is the total. Unders between minus 115 to minus 120. The overs any between even minus 105. And the Yankees, they are between minus 175 to minus 190 favors. Between plus 153 to a plus 160 is that number on the Tampa Bay Rays. And I'm going to decide with the Tampa Bay Rays on the money line. I was willing to take a plus 127 or higher with them. I recognize that Taj Bradley is not having necessarily the world's most grand season right now, as he, in his first 2 seasons at the big league level, was getting at least 10 strikeouts per 9 innings in both of them. That's down to about 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, and a career about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. It's not tremendous, but for Will Warren, he has a career ERA that is north of 8.7. Now, he's pitched better than his 5.63 ERA would indicate. His fielding independent this season is a little bit north of 4, but 4.5 walks per 9 innings is not necessarily so tremendous. He does get some relatively good swing and miss stuff as well, but he is a guy that has a propensity to knock himself out of starts relatively early. Now, contrary to popular belief, this is a Yankees bullpen that overall is not too bad. Devin Williams has been awful, but at the same time, you've got a lot of guys who have come in and held down the fort. Tim Hill, they had to utilize yesterday. Ian Hamilton, both of these guys give me a sub-3 ERA. Fernando Cruz has actually been really good in the bullpen, though. They used him for 2 innings yesterday, but even when Brent Hedrick was getting some appearances for the Yankees, he was doing a solid job. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this team is just so good at mixing and matching in that bullpen. You've got so many guys. They're going to give you a sub-3.5 ERA this season. Pete Fairbanks, who they had to utilize yesterday. Edwin Uceta as a long guy. Mason Montgomery, Hunter Biggie, Garrett Clevenger, all these guys are doing a nice job there. Now, for the Tampa Bay Rays, bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home, and they are dealing with quite a few injuries. Jake Magnum being on the injured list has been a little bit less than amazing, but Cameron Misner has been able to hit for darn near 300 for this team, and he's doing a great job moving the line. Junior Caminero has been able to supply the boom. He's been able to give you 6 home runs this far this season. Not necessarily the world's greatest average, but Jonathan Aranda is really moving the line. He's been able to give you 4 bombs. He's been hitting darn near 300. Danny Jansen, about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop at the catcher spot by Yandy Diaz. I do like what he's able to bring to the table after a relatively cold start to the season. And for the Bronx Bombers, they're currently leading the American League in total runs per game, but after that amazing series against Milwaukee Brewers, things have been falling back to earth for them a little bit. Anthony Volpe is right now dealing with a little bit of an injury, and Jazz Chisholm, he was providing no average, but it was hitting for power. He's on the injured list. Love what I'm seeing out of Ben Rice right now. This guy's been giving you north of a 350 on base. He's supplying 8 home runs this far this season. Then you've had Austin Wells be a little bit hot and cold, but Paul Goldschmidt at 400 on base. Aaron Judge north of a 500 on base with 11 home runs. This guy's having a historic season. Trent Grisham has done a nice job being able to supply 8 home runs after a relatively rough last few seasons. He's been able to pick it up as well, but do have my question marks and my trepidations with Will Warren. So in this circumstance, I did set the Rays at a plus 127. I'm willing to back them on the main line. And again, I do think that there's a little bit of positivity for both Warren and Taj Bradley. I did set my total at an 8.9, so at the 9, I'm in on the under as well. 917, 918 on the betting board. Kansas City Royals at the road. They're facing off against the Baltimore Orioles. Kyle Gibson is on the bump for the Orioles, and Michael Lorenzen is on the bump for the Royals, and the Royals hope to not get royally screwed as a underdog of any between even money to plus 104 and between minus 115 to a minus 120 is that number on Baltimore. 9.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110. And when it comes to the Orioles, I set them as the underdog at plus 108. So give me the Royals on the money line. Kyle Gibson is currently giving up, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, a home runs per 9 rate of 12.4. He gave up 5 bombs in 3 2/3 innings in his last start. Good God. That was bad. His ERA is north of 21. When your ERA is north of the year that we are in right now, things are not going well for you. Now, there should be a little bit of regression with this. I think that he's better than the 22.09 ERA. Last season, he was posting up about a 4.24 ERA. Fielding independent was in line with that. 1.2 home runs per 9 innings. He had his first start of the season coming off the injured list, facing off against the New York Yankees. There's a little bit of forgiveness to be had there in the Kansas City Royals as well. They're averaging about 3.2 runs per contest. That is the 3rd worst offense in all baseball, so very much less than savory there. But at the same time, I do think that they're going to be able to give you a bit more production. Bobby Witt Jr. has been stuck on 2 home runs since dinosaurs roamed the earth, but he's still moving the line. He's giving you about a 4 on base at that 22-plus game hitting streak. Vinny Pasquantino, lone guy on the roster with north of 3 home runs. He's been able to supply 4, but he's sitting below the Mendoza line of 200, and so is Cavan Biggio, so is Hunter Renfroe. So you do expect them to be able to give you a little bit more. Freddie Fermin has seen limited at bats due to injury. He's been able to give you about a 275 batting average as well. So these guys have been able to give you a bit of something, and it has been a little bit of a rough ordeal when it comes to Salvador Perez at the plate. He should be able to pick things up moving forward once he's back after being injured a little bit earlier in the week. Meanwhile, Cedric Mullins is nearly a 4 on base, 6 home runs this season, and Ryan O'Hearn, 6 bombs. He's done a nice job for this Baltimore Orioles team as well, hitting about a 300. And you've had a lot of guys who have circled with average for them as well. Ramon Laureano, Eston Kierstead, Orde Mateo, guys like this hitting a 225 or lower. Gunnar Henderson has not been himself thus far this season. And for the Orioles, Ynier Cano, Felix Bautista, one of the best 8th and 9th inning duos in all of baseball, but this has been a team that has been been underwhelming in the bullpen because they've got not really a lot of starting pitching for one, and Gregory Soto still in the bullpen, so that's not great to say the least. So Sir Anthony Dominguez, he's been able to give you some relatively good innings as far this season. On the flip side, you got a Kansas City Royals team that has actually been quite good in the bullpen. They've been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Carlos Estevez, Lucas Ursic, really good 8th and 9th inning duo. John Schreiber has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Do have to have your trepidations with someone like a Anel Zerpa, Chris Stratton, but you've had Daniel Lynch be able to lend some good innings. And for Michael Lorenzen, he was one of the luckiest pitchers in all baseball last season. Still getting a skosh lucky thus far this season as he's got a 3.48 ERA. Feel he's been a little bit north of a 4, 7.5 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but I do think that he finds a way in this ordeal to be able to get the job done against a guy in Kyle Gibson that currently I have no faith in whatsoever, but I do think that there should be some positivity coming his way, and I do think that for the Royals, they're going to find themselves in another low-scoring slog. So I total at an 8.6. I like the under, and I do like the Royals on the money line. Set them as a favorite. 919, 920 on the betting board. The Minnesota Twins hit the road. They're facing off against the Boston Red Sox. Garrett Crochet is on the bump for the Sox, and Chris Paddock is on the bump for Minnesota. State with the smallest strengths in the union. Minnesota is anywhere between a plus 185 to a plus 190 underdog, and between minus 210 to a minus 225. The number on Boston 8 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even, and for Paddock and company, I did set them as an underdog of a plus 188. I am just not in on this Minnesota Twins team, but now that we're getting a plus 188, plus 189, it's starting to be a buy point here, and it's not that Chris Paddock is necessarily going to be Cy Young 2.0 here or anything like that, but I do believe that Paddock is doing for a little bit of positivity. First 2 starts of the season, he was just a human pinata, but he's actually given up 1 or 2 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts. He's got overall for the season a 5.64 ERA, which is a little bit less than amazing, but 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. He does need to reduce on the deep ball. He's given up 2 home runs per 9 innings. That's a bit less than tremendous, and despite the fact that he's given up only 4 total runs over the course of his last 3 starts, he has given up 3 home runs. So that is a little bit alarming, and for Garrett Crochet, the strikeout numbers are not quite where they were a season ago, but he's still been very rock solid, and he's been providing really good stamina for the team as well. 5 2/3 innings or more in 4 out of his last 5 starts. He's posting up a 2.05 ERA, more like a 2.60 fielding dependent. He has given up about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. This guy has been very much rocking and rolling, and for the Minnesota Twins, you do have to have yourself a bit of trepidation in terms of backing this lineup, as you've got currently Royce Lewis on the injured list, Matt Wallner on the injured list, and make sure that the wind is not blowing the wrong direction, or else Byron Buxton is going to be on the injured list. But Buxton, when he's been out there, he's actually been relatively solid. Give the team 6 home runs this season, hitting a little bit above a 250. Not giving you too much in terms of on-base percentage, but do have to like what you're seeing there. And then we do have someone in Mr. Brooks Lee, who began the season on the injured list. He and Ty France both giving you north of 330 on base. Ryan Jeffers, after a rough start to the season, he's picking up, and Harrison Bader, about a 360 on base. So you're starting to get guys on base. Carlos Correa continues to be not great to say the least. So, and for the Boston Red Sox, Jarren Duran, after a little bit of a slow start to the season, he and Wyler Abreu are both hitting between about a 265 to a 280. And then Trevor Story, he's been hitting about a 270. He's been able to give you some functional power. Alex Bregman, nearly a 4 on base, 5+ home runs out of him. The guys at the bottom of the fold, Sadane Rafaela, David Hamilton, Connor Wong, guys like this, they do need to pick it up, but you've got Rob Snyder, who's a nice situational sort of hitter. But for the Red Sox, this has been a team that's been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Liam Hendricks is an amazing story with everything that he's defeated, but same time, you do have to have a little bit of trepidation and question mark there. Brandon Bernardino has actually been a solid reliever for the team, and Garrett Woodlock has given you multiple innings and about a 3 ERA. I really like him in the bullpen, but Roland Chapman, he seems to poop the bed at the wrong time on you. And for the Minnesota Twins, this has been a bit of a rough bullpen, as you've had Griffin Jacks get all jacks up for north of a 70 ERA. Danny Kaluma has been able to do a really good job of not providing, I think, a single run allowed this far this season, but Cole Sands is up and down. Yohan Dorana is really good and nasty stuff, but I think that when it's all said and done, this is a pretty league average bullpen with the Minnesota Twins. But being able to get this much plus money here, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Twins at a plus 189 or higher. And with regards to the total, I did set my total at 8.6. I do think that Crochet starts to see a little bit of regression, and I do think that Chris Paddock is going to be paying for some of his sins as well. So I'm in on the over, and I'm going to be in on that Twins money line. 921, 922 on the betting board. The Cleveland Guardians hit the road to face off against the Toronto Blue Jays. Bowden Francis is on the bump for the Jays, and Tanner Bybee is on the bump for Cleveland. 8 is the total. Over and under, anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. Between minus 108 to minus 115 is that number on Toronto. Between even money and minus 105 is that number on Cleveland. And with the Gardos, I set them at a plus 132. I'm going to be willing to trust in the Blue Jays now. The regression monster was hungry for a snack of Bowden Francis and ate him hook, line, and sinker a few days ago. Like, my goodness. He got completely mollywopped in that start. That said, for Bowden Francis, I sort of saw that coming because he's been playing with a little bit of fire. Throughout his career, a 3.31 ERA, but a 4.76 fielding independent. And this season, 5.20 ERA, 7.30 fielding independent, giving up a whopping 3.2 home runs per 9 innings. His 11 bombs, give it up in 30 2/3 innings thus far this season. That is the most out there in all of baseball. Now, he did give up 5 home runs against the Boston Red Sox, and that's very unusual as well. I think that there should be a little bit of positivity there, but certainly something to be mindful of, though. For the Cleveland Guardians, it's a little bit of a hit-or-miss lineup because the top of the fold has been very good for Cleveland. You have to love what Steven Kwan is providing. He's giving you some power. He's sitting for north of 350 or so on base. Bo Naylor is starting to figure it out at the plate as well, though he has not necessarily been the world's greatest with regards to his average. It's been a bit of an up-and-down season for Jose Ramirez, and currently he's dealing with injury. Lane Thomas on the injury list really is not a downgrade because guys like he, John Kenzie Noel, Nolan Jones, throw in there as well. The shortstop in Brian Rocchio. These guys hitting at 225 or lower has been rough. Kyle Manzardo's not hitting for average, but he has been able to give you quite a bit of power. He's been able to supply 7+ home runs thus far this season. And for the Guardians, this has not been quite the same team with regards to their bullpen thus far this season, as you've got a nice dynamic trio. Tim Aaron, Hunter Gaddis, Kate Smith. I'll give you a sub 3.5 ERA, but having now on the injured list Paul Sewald, I don't think it's the world's worst thing, but at the same time, Eric Sabrowski being on the injured list has been rough. Emmanuel Clase has been all sorts of rough. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm starting to become a little bit more of a believer in this bullpen, as you do have a nice fearsome threesome with this team as well. Chad Green, Jeff Hoffman, Yumi Garcia. These 3 guys have been rock solid, especially Hoffman and Garcia being able to give you a sub 2 ERA. But this is a Blue Jays team that does rank in the bottom 4 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat and a per game basis. You've been able to have Anthony Santander along with Vlad Jr. start to bust out a little bit more with 4 bombs apiece, but Santander, Andres Jimenez, throw in there Alan Roden, all in below a $190. That's not savory to say the least. Vlad Jr., though, the deep ball has been eluding him a little bit. He's still been able to give you about a 360 on base. Miles Straws finding a way to be able to move the line for the team as well. Bo Bichette, 1 more home run than myself, but he's hitting about a 285, and George Springer, that north of 4 on base, is rock solid. So in this circumstance, I do think that they're going to be able to get to a guy in Tanner Bybee. He was actually much better on the road than he was at home last season. Like, it's very, very strange, but he was posting up an ERA that was well north of 4 when he was at home, and that's comparing to about a 250 when he was away from home thus far this season. 6.45 fielding independent, 4.36 ERA as he has been allowing the deep ball, 2.5 home runs per 9 innings. Small sample size, but 9 home runs a lot in 33 innings last season. Last season, more like 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, and the 3.5 walks per 9 innings. That's not great. Now, he has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts, but that strikeout stuff is very, very much significantly down thus far this season, and I do think that the Blue Jays are going to be able to hop all aboard it. As I did set my line at a minus 132, I do like the Jays on the money line, and did set my total at 7.8. I do think that Francis and Bybee have given up a unreal amount of hard contact, and I think that that goes down in the start. I'm looking at the under and the money line of the Jays, 923 and 924 on the betting board. The Chicago White Sox playoffs to the Houston Astros, as Lance McCullers Jr. is making his first start since dinosaurs roamed the earth, and Bryce Wilson is on the bump for the White Sox. White Sox are sizable underdogs, anywhere between plus 180 to plus 190. Meanwhile, minus $2 to minus 218 is your number on the Astros. 8.5 is the total. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And actually, you're finding the under at a minus 115, and the over is minus 105. That said, this is a circumstance where I set my tail at 8.2. I'm in on the under, and I can't believe that I'm placing a guy who hasn't started in like 2 years as a minus 207 favorite, but I did make him a minus 207 favorite. Now, we're not seeing a lot of run line prices out as of right now. Lone one again is at FanDuel, and the juice is oftentimes all over the place. Right now, that's at a minus 125, and I would be willing to lay a minus 125 on that run line. I'd be willing to go up to about a minus 129 in terms of laying a run half. Now, what Lance McCullers Jr. is going to be able to give you is a big giant roll of the dice, because, man, last we saw this guy, I think it was the 2023 postseason. Like, my goodness, this has been a really long time since we have seen him. Yep, the 2022 postseason. So, yeah, and when he's been out there, he's been great. Career 3.48 ERA, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. So, I mean, when he's good, he's really good, but at the same time, you don't know what you're getting here. He's made a few relief appearances in the minor league level, 12 2/3 innings across his 4 starts, 2.84 ERA. Strikeout stuff is there, so I do like that, and the good news is he gets to go up against the Chicago White Sox, a team that's in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home. Now, the White Sox have been able to give you a little bit more of a respectable effort over the last few days. Now, they did get a little bit blasted yesterday, but they were able to win back-to-back games, so yay, verily there. But for the Chicago White Sox, it just feels like the stink of this team has set in on some of these better guys, like Andrew Vaughn, along with Luis Robert, are much better than guys that are hitting below the Mendoza line of 200, but they're hitting below the Mendoza line of 200, and that's not great. Lennon Sosa has been able to hit 250 for the team, and you do have Andrew Benintendi, who's been able to give you 5+ home runs as far this season, but when you've got Miguel Vargas as one of your top hitters, and you've got out there Joshua Palacios getting at bats, that's not a place where you want to be. And for the Houston Astros, you've got quite a few guys that are doing a solid job moving the line, getting on base, like Chas McCormick, Jeremy Pena, both hitting above 280. Jose Altuve has been a little bit hit or miss thus far this season, but he's giving you 4+ bombs, 315 on base. You need Jordan Alvarez to get his act together. He's been dealing with a little bit of injury, and he was out yesterday, but he has been out there. 3 home runs, less than a 325 on base. And Christian Walker hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Not to say a ton of power out of him, as he's been only able to give you about 4 home runs thus far this season. That's not good, but what is good for the Houston Astros, and I mentioned this because Lance McCullers Jr., you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. Top 5 team in terms of bullpen here. The Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu, both of these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Taylor Scott, great Scotty, has not been great to say the least, but you know what? You've been able to get some good innings out of Josh Hader, as he's looking like the Josh Hader that we all know and love, and you've also been able to get a lot of good stuff recently here out of more of the ancillary pieces in the bullpen, as Stephen Okert is providing a sub-1 ERA. Logan Van Way has come in. He's been able to hold down the fort end for the Chicago White Sox. The Mike Clevenger area of them having him trot out there from the bullpen has not been great, to say the least, and I think that they've transferred him to the injured list, CFA'd him, something like that, because I'm not seeing him right now. But Jordan Leisure, he's been giving you a 450 ERA, and he's one of their more trustworthy guys. Mike Vassell along Steven Wilson, these 2 guys have actually been really good for the team, but other than these 2 guys, really nobody outside that's giving you north of a 4.5 ERA out there in the bullpen. Cam Bouger is starting to poop the bed. Fraser Allard has been relatively rough, to say the least. And Penn Murphy, a guy that I like with Seattle, he has not been good. And for Bryce Wilson, this is probably going to be a guy that gives you 3, maybe 4 innings, and they've utilized an opener for him in the past. So if you do see a little bit of pitching change, don't be surprised here, but he's never been a power pitcher. 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings thus far this season. He's posting up a 5 ERA, a fielding independent that's very much on par with that, as he's given up 4 bombs in 18 innings thus far this season. I do think that he gets ambushed in this start, so I did some. I tell it at 8.2 in this circumstance. I'm willing to lay up to a -128 on that Houston run line, and at 8.5, I do like the under, because I just don't think that the White Sox do their part with this total. 925, 926 on the betting board. The Seattle Mariners hit the road. They're facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers. Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers. Logan Evans is on the bump for Seattle, and Seattle does find themselves as pretty sizable underdogs, and between +148 to a +157, and between -170 and -180 is that number on the Texas Rangers. 8 is the total. Over is -115, and the under is -105. At a +156, they made me an offer I can't refuse on the Seattle Mariners, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the money line. Now, I know that the name brand of Mr. Jacob deGrom does present a lot of value, and he's been looking a little bit better in his last few starts, but this is not peak Jacob deGrom anymore. He does have a 2.73 ERA. The fielding independence is closer to about a 3.75, though. He's getting about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is actually sizably down for him. Last time he had fewer than 10 strikeouts per 9 innings in a season. You have to go all the way back to 2016. Not posting up a lot of walks in general, but he has given up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and this is just a Seattle Mariners overall organization that is a factory in terms of being able to produce these really good starters, as you have to love the fact that you've got a guy in Evans who's able to come in right away. For his career start, gives up just 2 runs over the course of 5 innings, and this guy at the minor league level was pretty rock solid. He was a highly touted guy that he had a 3.86 ERA in the PCL, which that doesn't sound impressive, but the PCL is a juice ball league, and if you're able to have an ERA that is sub 5 in the PCL, you're actually doing something right. He has never really given up the deep ball too much when he's been at the minor league level. Not a guy that's going to blow you away with his blazing fastball or anything like that, but he's got pretty good command. And for the Seattle Mariners, this is a bullpen that is solid. I'm not going to call it amazing or anything like that, but we do have Andres Munoz, who he very much is amazing. That is one of the best bullpen pieces that you're going to find in all of baseball. Now, you do have some of these guys like a Taylor Cicado, who's been very much less than tremendous for the team, but some of the setup men have been able to step up. Like Gabe Spire has been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. You've got Casey Lugumina along Colin Snyder, who are giving you a sub 3.6 ERA. And for the Seattle Mariners, this lineup has been very rock solid, especially when they've been away from home. How about Big Dumper Cal Raleigh giving you 12 home runs as far this season with a 350 on base? Randy Arozarena has only been able to about a 211, but he's giving you north of a 3 350 on base. Rowdy Tellez needs to pick it up a little bit. Julio Rodriguez, Dylan Moore, they need to give you a little bit more, as Dylan Moore has been able to give you more. 6 home runs, 346 on base, but the other two, less than a 225 average, and Ore Polanco, 9 home runs, 425 on base going to yesterday. Tremendous. And the Texas Rangers, out of 30 teams going into yesterday, 30th in the league in terms of runs per game, as they have been allergic to scoring runs. I pose this question because there was 100 men versus a gorilla. It's 100 men on base versus the Texas Rangers scoring 1 run. Like, my gosh, it has been absolutely terrible for them, as Adolis Garcia is allergic to getting on base. Actually provides a little bit of power, but not really moving the line. Wyatt Langford at 365 on base. He's been able to give you 5+ homers this season. They get Corey Seager off the injured list. That's big. That's by far their best power bat. He's been able to give you a 345 on base this far this season. But Marcus Semien, Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, all these guys hitting a sub 200 and not moving the line. That has been really awful for this team. And it is a Texas Rangers team that has been a little bit better in their bullpen this season than I was anticipating. When Mark Church has been out there, as he's been up and down, he's been able to give you some relatively solid innings, like some Robert Garcia, Luka Jackson. These guys give you sub 3.5 ERA. That's pretty rock solid as well. But that said, I do think that this is a circumstance where this number has went a little bit too far, especially with the fact that the Rangers can't score to save their lives. I set my total 7.9. I'm in on the under, and with Seattle, I'm willing to take plus 156 or higher on that money line. 927, 928 on the board. You've got the Detroit Tigers on the road against the Los Angeles Angels. Jack Conowitz is on the bump for the Halos, and Reese Olson is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit does find themselves anywhere between minus 160 to minus 170 favorites. Plus 142, plus 150 is that number on Los Angeles. In F is you total. The over is between minus 105 to a minus 110. Minus 115 to a minus 110 is that number on the Halos. And if you are interested in laying run F with the Detroit Tigers right now, once again, only place I'm seeing this up is FanDuel, but you'd be laying about a minus 108 here. I am not necessarily jonesing to do that, and if you're actually able to get more like a minus 110 or better on the Halos run line, which I'm seeing that right now up at FanDuel, I would be willing to take a shot there, as I did set my money line price at a minus 150, but with this bullpen of the Angels, I don't think I want to be taking them outright. Like, my gosh, in this series, they gave up 2 home runs to Riley Green in the same inning, in the same stinking inning, so yeah, it's not great. A whopping 6.60 ERA for the LA Angels in the bullpen going into yesterday. Like, every single one of these guys is pooping the bed on command. It is incredible what we've seen out of them. You do have Kenley Jansen. He somehow, somebody pooped the bed a few days ago. And then you've got Brock and Roll Burke, who's getting completely rolled. Reed Detmers is a gas can. Ryan Zephyrian has actually not been too terrible for the team, but not a lot of faith here. You've got Mike Trout, who's back on the injured list. Shock, surprise, surprise. Just seems to always happen every single year. And it's an all-or-nothing team with the Los Angeles Angels, bottom 5 team in terms of overall batting average. Zach Netto's moving line. He's giving you north of 275 average. And you do have good power bats for this team. Kyron Paris, Jorge Soler, Taylor Ward, Logan O'Hoppe. They've all been able to give you 5+ home runs this season. But other than O'Hoppe, none of these guys are hitting really north of a 250. Soler has been able to give you a little bit of something, but still you have a little bit more to be desired there. And for the Detroit Tigers, after their offense was not necessarily so great last season, they've been able to pick it up. Gleyber Torres, nice signing in the offseason from the New York Yankees. They're dealing with a few injuries, with Matt Vreeling being on the injured list, but Riley Green, 2 home runs in the same inning against the Los Angeles Angels. A few days ago, he's up to 8 bombs. Spencer Torkelson has been able to give you about a 340 or so on base. Batting average is going down the toilet bowl, but he's been able to give you 9 home runs thus far this season. Zach McKinstry, north of 4 on base. Gary Carpenter, one of the more underrated bats in all of baseball. And if you look at things ever since the All-Star game of the 2024 campaign, Detroit Tigers, top 2 team with regards to bullpen ERA. You're dealing with an injury to John Brebbia in the bullpen, but so many guys like Tommy Kahnle, Tyler Holton, Brent Herter is able to give you multiple innings. Will Vest, all these guys being able to give you a sub 3.5 ERA. I do think that for the Tigers, that's going to be able to help them out quite a bit. And for Reese Olson, he's been a little bit up, down all around. He's been a little bit unlucky. At the same time, this is not some sort of power pitcher that's going to give you 100 million strikeouts or anything like that thus far this season. For Mr. Olson, he's been providing about a 3.55 ERA. It's about a 3, fielding independent, 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He does a great job of reducing on the deep ball, but he has been giving up north of 3.5 walks per 9 innings. I do think that for Jack Conowitz, it's going to be a little bit tough for him to be able to get just outs in general, because this guy does not get any swings and misses whatsoever for his career. About 4 punch outs per 9 innings. For Conowitz, he does allow just a little bit too much in terms of hard contact as well. Thus far this season, 6 home runs allowed in his 6 starts across 32 and a third innings. Now he's been giving up for his career about 2 walks per 9 innings. That's about 3.3 walks per 9 innings this season though, and he's given up 3+ runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. So circumstance where at a minus 110 or better, I would be willing to take a run with the Angels. Not Jones tempted to take that money line, but I'm also in on this total over. I did set my total at an 8.8, and 929, 930 on the betting board is how we wrap it up. The Miami Marlins play us the Athletics as JP Sears is on the bump for the Sacramento A's, and Edward Cabrera is on the bump for Miami. Miami just find themselves anywhere between plus 110 to a plus 115, anywhere between minus 121 to a minus 135 is that number on the A's, and Toronto's game is 8.5. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. I'm in on the over. I set my total at 8.7. Nearly 70% of home games for Miami since the beginning of the 2024 season have gone over the total. Like, this has been the gift that truly does keep on giving. And for Edward Cabrera, I don't know if he knows where the ball is going to be going when he releases it. A nice hearty 7.23 ERA thus far this season. Fielding independence a little bit lower, but this guy is just no command whatsoever. Career 5.2 walks per 9 innings. This season, 5.3 walks per 9 innings. Still getting strikeouts, 9.5 punch-outs per 9 innings, but he's giving up the hard contact. 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. Very much less than ideal. And for JP Sears throughout his career, this has been a man that has been giving up the deep ball as well. As a member of the Athletics, dating all the way back to the 2022 season, he has been posting up a 4.37 ERA, coupled with a 4.79 fielding independent, about a home run and a half per 9 innings. And for the Athletics, this has been one of your best offenses in all baseball. Tyler Soderstrom being able to supply the scene with 9+ home runs at about a 350 on base has been very good for them. Additionally, you've got Brent Rooker starting to move the line a little bit more after he was an all or nothing hitter towards the beginning part of the season. He's been able to give you 6+ home runs. Shea Langolaires has not been able to give you a lot of average, but 6 home runs as far this season. Jacob Wilson refused to walk, but you know what? As they say in Moneyball, he gets on base. He's been giving you north of 300 batting average, so that's been tremendous, a little bit more tremendous than this bullpen, which you have a few guys who are starting to step up for the team. Justin Sterner, I don't think it's allowed an earned run yet this far this season. Mason Miller is one of the better closers they're going to find in all baseball, and Tyler Ferguson, a sub-1 ERA, but when you get into TJ McFarland, Mitch Spence, these guys are very, very much rolls of the dice. I do actually like what you're getting out of Grant Holman as well, and for the Miami Marlins, this has been one of the lesser bullpens out there in all baseball. You've got Declan Cronin, who's out on the injury list. That's not tremendous. Ronnie Enriquez, as a long guy, has actually been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. That said, you've got the Anthony Bender, Anthony Veziano. These guys have been neither here nor there. Bender has actually been pretty solid. Veziano, a little bit shaky. Calvin Fauché seems to be picking it up a little bit, but for the Miami Marlins, very much a station-to-station sort of team, as Matt Burvis has been able to give you 7 home runs thus far this season. And I think outside of that, you don't have anyone other than Kyle Stowers who's been able to give you much power, 6 bombs. And for Stowers, he's been able to give you about a 390 on base. In the case of Burvis, he's hitting below the Bedell's line of 200. Dave Myers has been rock solid. He and Javier Senja, he's been able to both give you a north of 300 average. I remember Xavier Edwards hitting that cycle against the Brewers last season. He's been able to do a solid job getting on base, but has as many home runs as myself. Eric Wagaman is a little bit hit or miss as well, so I do think that that's going to help out the cause of Mr. JP Sears. That said, I did set the Miami Marlins at a minus 102 on the money line. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of positivity here, and I do have my question marks with that A's bullpen, so I'm going to take a shot on Miami on the money line, and I'm going to be in on the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And a big thanks once again to our good friend and Mr. William Boor of Action Network for joining me in the last segment, coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.